Alright, so the only real assignment for this week is going to be the animatic. So this is basically, you're officially going to start animating for your final. What you want to do is just throw your clip with audio into Maya. You should be able to just drag that onto your timeline and it'll pull in the audio for that. And again, start animating the characters, start animating your camera. If there's any objects that the characters are interacting with, get some really rough animation in for that. And then also you want to start rigging your characters or, applying the deformers to your characters as necessary. So one thing I do want to stress with this is I don't want this to be an assignment where you sort of do a bunch of stuff for the assignment that you have to get rid of later. Because I know I had a few stuff, like a few assignments with that in school where I kind of just like only did it for the assignment, and I don't want this to turn into one of those things. It's kind of a waste of time, honestly, for you guys. So I try to avoid that stuff. So there is a video going this week going over sort of the minimum things that you need for having a rig that you can continue working on and like animate for your animatic, that you won't need to go back and like redo a bunch of stuff later for it. So definitely check that out. But anywho, so again, this should be a play blast. I do not want renders of this, so this week is purely play blasting only is all you need. So play blast of your rough animation for your full whatever clip you're doing, and then just again remove unnecessary stuff from the scene. So that's going to be, if you have controllers in there, don't highlight objects, turn off your resolution gate, that kind of stuff. Make sure you set your play blast scale to 1 so that it doesn't, shrink all your settings. And this play blast should include sound. So whether or not you want to, if you drag stuff into the Maya scene, it should be good to go in terms of play blasting with sound, but you can always apply it later in post if for some reason you have issues with that. And then you should also, if you could, resubmit your original video clip just so I have the two that I can reference if for some reason I need that. So the sort of what I'm looking for in terms of, I guess, level of animation that's going to be there is pretty much all motions are going to be blocked in with appropriate timing. So this doesn't need to be super insanely detailed or like refined, but I am looking for, and I have some examples down here. If you're doing like a walking human or a jumping vegetable, you should block in that jumping or walking motion of the feet. So what I don't want to see, and I'll just use a human because that's, I feel like, kind of easier. If you have someone walking across a room, I don't just want to see your rig sliding across the floor. I do want to see some roughed in animation for, the arms, the feet. The feet shouldn't be sliding, like it takes 4 seconds to just like throw in a little keyframe between sliding feet animations where the foot actually like lifts off the ground. So go through and do that. It'll just make it a little bit easier to sort of go forward and refine and actually like comment on the block ins rather than just like having a weird character sliding around in your scene. And also try to, at this point, work on syncing up major audio motions, because that will definitely help you later. And the same thing for bouncing ball or like hopping vegetable. Again, just like block in all the major motions. They don't need to be super crazy refined. Things can be, a little bit floaty, but just make sure that you have all the motions there so that you're in a good place to go back and start animating in future weeks. You just sort of clean up the timing, but again, like all the major keyframes and stuff are pretty much there. I'm also looking for hero objects or like character objects that are as complete as possible, but I also realize that like making you guys do 30 seconds of animation and modeling a bunch of objects depending on how many you're making is kind of mean. So at a minimum, what I'm really looking for is get something blocked in for your characters, and again, there's a video going over this, but block in something for your characters. It should be, the appropriate shape of your characters. And I go over sort of what you need as a minimum for a rig and a deformer to start animating, where you can then go back and continue working on the modeling and stuff like that later with referencing. So definitely check that out because it'll save you a lot of time. Like, right, like I don't want you guys to have to go through and, you model a character and then you're like, oh no, I have to update my character model and now I need to redo all my animation because I didn't reference my object or something like that. And then the last bit is basically just anything that the characters are interacting with should be blocked in with at least scaled cubes, or if you have more complete stuff, that's obviously welcome too. And I say scaled cubes because like if you're jumping up on a table or something like that, and you model your table, it's a totally different height. That's going to affect your animation. So make sure that that's the size that it should be, because then you won't need to redo your whole animation. And again, the environments can totally be referenced in. I go over that in the video as well. But I don't care so much about the environment. That just kind of depends on like how you like working. Silly generic suggestion. And this is one of those assignments where, especially if you guys are doing rigging and stuff, or you have like a million characters, I would rather, and you can drop a note about this in the comments, but I would definitely rather you guys spend a little bit of extra time getting your rigs and stuff working so that you are in a place where you don't need to redo animation. Because like I said, it's kind of a waste of everyone's time. Like I don't want you guys to have to submit something for the assignment and then have to delete a few hours of work, but like you had stuff for the assignment and that's like all you did, if that makes sense. So that's basically the animatic. Hopefully that'll make sense. I have to double check the point values for this again. I looked over this and I somehow didn't notice math. But this is going to be basically, part of the grade is going to be how well the character motion matches the original clip. So that's going to be, right, like if you just have like a vegetable sliding across the floor versus, hopping or doing whatever walking you're actually doing. As well as looking at, do audio cues sort of sync up. The other thing that it's going to be looking at is basically, okay, sorry, that was, okay, cool. I swapped these. So this is basically going to be sort of the complete feeling of the scene where like, sliding character versus hopping character. And then this is also kind of just looking at timing. So I'm not looking for so much like super polished animation here. I'm more focused on getting you guys something that you can actually use, as well as setting you up to have as much time as possible to like continue animating or continue rigging or doing whatever you're doing later. 2 things you need to submit. So again, play blast of the animatic. When in doubt, format guidelines are always here. And then the original video clip that you were using for your final. And again, you guys should be running play blast and stuff through like Media Encoder or some other compression software. I think Handbrake is a free one. You can double check the free resources tab on that if you need to. But yeah, because I've recently been getting a lot of like 200 megabyte files, and like Blackboard doesn't like them. They take forever to download, and make sure you're compressing your stuff. Apart from that, I think the only other thing that I want to touch on is, so when I say rough animation for the full clip, I do mention camera angles in here, and I do want this, if you are having different camera angles, like try to get them as accurate as possible, and then cut your scene together as if you were rendering it for your final. So don't just like have a weird temporary camera in there. Also try to proof your camera angles as much as possible. But that is pretty much the animatic. I did not think that would take an 8-minute and 40-second video to explain, but hopefully it all makes sense. And if you have any questions, just let me know.